A tied election result in one of Prince Edward Island's ridings has just been decided. And get this, it wasn't decided by votes, it was a tie, so they decided to flip a coin. That's how the rules work. The election was held 2 weeks ago, and the result in Vernon River Stratford was a real toss-up, as they say. How does the winner feel about the unusual victory? Joining us now to find out is Liberal MLA Alan McIsaac.
I feel pretty good about it, really. It's kind of a different way to win, that's for sure. I went into the recount with a 2-vote cushion, and when we did the recount today, we found that one of the votes that had been counted for me was actually hers, so it took us to a dead heat or a full draw.
Now tell me something, Mr. McIsaac. First of all, did you ever expect, did you know that the rule was if you guys had a tie that you'd have to flip a coin? Yes,
we're aware of that, kind of checked into that, because when you only have a small margin, you kind of look and see what the regulations were. I thought at one point that the DRO would be making the decision, but according to the rules of provincial election here in P.E.I, it comes down to a coin toss.
How did your opponent feel when you lose an election on a coin toss?
Well, I'm sure she's a little bit disappointed, all right, for sure. She was a great competitor. She ran a great campaign. She's a good lady. I know Mary Ellen very well. She and her husband, and they were in the dairy industry when I was in the dairy industry, so I've known them for a lot of years, and she's a very quality person. So you both have 1,173 votes. Now, how did you know what to call there, heads or tails? Like, take me through the process there. Well, we really didn't have any say in that. The Chief Electoral Officer had made the decision on the rules if it came down to a coin toss, and he had a special coin, a commemorative coin from the province here that he said the rules were set up beforehand. The person with the letter closest to the highest of the alphabet, start of the alphabet, that person would have heads, and the second person would get tails. And our DRO for our riding flipped the coin, and it came up tails.
Well, but now you're both. Her name, isn't it Mary Ellen McInnes?
Yes.
And you're Alan McIsaac, so right. It's pretty darn close.
Well, see,
are you deciding there by the last name?
Yeah, well, yes, and that was one of the concerns all along, that the names, both of the names start MCI. Yeah. And when we were that close, there was some concern that maybe when they were counting the ballots, they would count 1 or 2 incorrectly. So we were prepared for that. So she's McInnes, and you're McIsaac. So that S there basically has determined your political fate. The 4th letter in our names decided the fate. You're exactly right.
I got to tell you, I mean, now I know in Nova Scotia, I think in 1999, they had to draw the winner from a hat. Is this going to change? Do you think people will accept this kind of democracy?
Well, unfortunately, I guess they will. It's hopefully it won't be this close again. But I know back in the early '60s, we had a cabinet minister that went down to a defeat by 1 vote. But so it just shows the value and the importance of every person getting out to vote, because every vote does count, and this is just proof positive that it is, because it's just so close.
But in this case, it's a tie. I mean, do you think it's fair? I mean, I know you won, so you probably think it's really fair, but fundamentally, is it fair to decide an election by a coin toss, or should there be another official way? I don't know, another runoff.
Well, that was talked about too in our discussions over the last couple of weeks. A lot of people were joking, what if it does come down to a coin toss? And, is that really right, or do you think we should go back to the polls? All different scenarios were thrown out. But we went through the counts today, went through every ballot, and 1 turned over, and 1 vote away from me for Mary Ellen, and that caused the tie. So there we are. And the coin toss apparently is the fair way of doing it, I guess.
Tell me how nervous you were when that coin was in the air.
I tell you the honest truth, I wasn't really all that nervous. I didn't have a whole lot of nervousness about me even over the last 2 weeks. Actually, to tell you the honest truth, we had a death in the family over the last 2 weeks, and I was pretty well focused on that. So I didn't really have my mind much on this until this morning, when my executive assistant and our lawyer got together to discuss what would be happening this afternoon. And then it kind of hit home that, hey, the game's afoot here. Well,
it certainly was a game afoot. Before I let you go, sir, do you think that ought to be the rule going forward in the future, or do you think there ought to be a better way to decide elections?
You know what, I think there will likely be a discussion on it. I'm not saying it should change, but after this is the third election now with the election boundaries, so there'll be a lot of discussion around the changing of the boundaries, maybe even changing some of the rules with the electoral process and P.E.I, but that's all up for the people in the province to decide. They may certainly look at the deciding factor here, but you know, one could be as fair as the other, that's for sure.
I guess you didn't go out and buy a lottery ticket now that you're batting 1,000 so far.
Actually, don't buy lottery tickets.
Well, this could be your lucky day. Well, listen, sir, it's a hard-fought election, very close fought election, and I know it came down right to the wire there. We haven't heard too often of a coin toss deciding electoral results. You happen to be the beneficiary this time. I appreciate your time, sir. Thanks so much.
No, thanks very much for your interest, but I just want to tell everybody in Canada, every vote counts, so make sure you get out and cast that ballot.
You know what? Well said, sir. Every vote absolutely counts.
Sure
you don't
does.
want to leave it down to our commemorative coins. Liberal MLA. Alan McIsaac, sir, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.